Hey guys, Mark Holthe here. Thanks for hanging in there. We are just getting ready to launch our Express Entry live Q&A right now. For those who are tuning in for the first time, this is my wonderful opportunity to connect with all of you out there all over the world, to take a few minutes here at noon. I do it every Tuesday. At least I try to do it noon Mountain Standard Time because I'm located in the lovely province of Alberta. And I wanted to let you guys know that sometimes I may be a little bit off, but I usually try to let people know. So those who are tuning in, this is where people send in their questions via email. So I've got a bunch here via email, and people who send me an email right here to this email address and put this EE Live Q&A in the subject line, they're the ones that get their answers first. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you don't have to be live necessarily. You can watch the recording, and if you send me an email, I may consider your question. I don't do all of them because some of them are specific in nature. And what I mean by that is people send me questions. How do I qualify for Express Entry? Or Mark, can you tell me which knock is the proper knock for me? And all of those questions are ones that I direct directly to my assistant, Charlene, who then sets up a paid consultation, because that is specific legal advice. But for those of you who have questions related to Express Entry that are of general applicability, that are useful to other people out there, I will definitely consider them strongly for the purposes of our EE Live Q&As. So those of you who are live, welcome. It's great to have you with me. I think everything is lining up really good. People are starting to pour in. I'm going to go to my own view of this on my computer, which appears to be the only real way I can interact meaningfully with these private groups. I want to poll everybody here that is watching live. Eurydice from Bahamas, awesome. The rest of you guys who are on there, let me know where you're tuning in from. As always, I love that. But can you guys tell me, are you also a part of the Express Entry, or I should say the Canadian Immigration Institute page? So one thing I'm considering is doing these EE Live Q&As now in my actual Canadian Immigration Institute page. So just let me know, post here. And some of you are probably wondering, Mark, what are you talking about? What's this page? Well, what I mean by that is, let me just go in here and share my messy screen with you all. Okay, so I think you guys know that I have, in addition to, let's go down here, in addition to Express Entry, we also have the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page. That's this one. And one of the things I like about this is that when I post something, you guys actually get notified. But because I have not used it a lot, I really am not entirely sure whether or not this is a good way of communicating with all of you. And so those who are watching live, and even if you're posting on YouTube, let me know if you've ever gone to the Canadian Immigration Institute page, which is separate from our private group. And you'll see here that I just recently posted about the rounds of invitations yesterday. And there's a few people that have connected, and there's been a little bit of interaction, but I don't post a lot on here. At least I haven't traditionally. So if you guys have gone to the Canadian Immigration Institute, and one advantage I have had is that on here are also all of the reviews. And so anyone who has had any dealings with me, and we're sitting at about 4.9, which is great. Basically, people who have had consultations with me and things like that, I always ask them to let people know what the experience was like, because I know what it's like. I know where our group is sitting. And if I go back to our actual group here, see if I can find it. Let's see if I can go back to it. You can see we're sitting at 119,848 members of our group. Well, the reality is that it's impossible for me to connect with all these people. And when people are going on here and posting, there are lots of people that just don't feel it's worthwhile to hire me, that I don't add any value, which is totally fine. People can feel however they like. But the reality is, when people book consults with me, when they leave, they have had all their questions answered. And if there is some question, and every once in a while I get one that is maybe well, let's just say it's quite unusual and unique that requires me to go back and do a little bit of investigation. But when people ask questions, I answer them. And so when they leave, they are invariably happy with the result. But it does me no good to tell all of you guys how awesome I am. That's a little self-serving, and most people would find it disingenuous. And so the most important thing for me is to make sure that people who do use my services tell the world, because it's hard to help people to understand that hiring me as a Canadian immigration lawyer is actually going to be worthwhile versus digging your way around the internet, hunting through forums, trusting people who may have gone through and successfully obtained their own express entry, but then assume that everything they did actually resulted or will result in everybody else getting the same result if they follow that pattern. And that's the danger. So I'm not going to cover it in detail today, but the reality is, guys, it's becoming increasingly precarious express entry. And we were lucky yesterday to see 440 CRS points as the round of invitations, which I know I've got a number of clients that are super happy. And now we're going through filing their EAPR applications for them. And I've got, I think, about 5 or 6 today that I've got to get out. But the reality is times are still okay. But you could get an ITA, file your EAPR, and by the time it's actually assessed in 4 months or however long down the road, maybe we're not getting 440 draws. And if your application gets returned because it's incomplete, then it means you go back into the pool and the round of invitation, if you were drawn at 440, may not be around anymore. So I just wanted to bring that up for you guys and let everybody know. But yeah, let's see where people are listening. I'm going to go back here and find the live feed. All right. Okay, so we've got a few. So Andy's from Indonesia. Let's see here. MD is from Bangladesh. Very cool. Let's see. Yeah, we've got a bunch of people that are tuning in. Okay, so I'm going to start off here, this episode, with a few questions. And as always, I'm going to link here. And I'm just waiting. Those of you who are watching, just let me know if you have gone to the Canadian Immigration Institute page, and then I'll follow those comments after. Okay, I am ready. All right. Hi, Mina. Mina's from Egypt. Great to have you joining me. Okay, let's take a look here. So this question is from Ujwal, and he says, "Hello, Mark. How are you doing? I've been stressing through your EE Live sessions that a candidate is not required to demonstrate the employment required as per NOC description, and work experience need not match the education, and work experience prior to the bachelor's degree can be claimed as valid work experience. However, as per GCMS notes, under work experience section, they are checking education credentials. Samples of GCMS are attached herewith. What does this mean?" So Ujwal basically sent me a screenshot of the access to information request that they requested, and it shows indication that they were checking the educational credentials within their work experience. Okay, so let me help to clarify this, and I'll just make a quick note so that I know exactly where we're at here in terms of time-wise. Okay, so we're about 1440 here. The reality, Ujwal, is that when it comes to the bare assessment of what work permit or what work experience is, you have to understand that the regulations that drive all of immigration do not take into consideration education, and the specific employment requirements under the NOC, they don't take those into consideration when they're assessing what work experience is. And that's just immigration law. Now, with that being said, where an officer will look at education is if they're trying to determine if you actually did work in that position and were qualified to work in that position, and they will use your education as a guideline to see if they actually believe your reference letter. So let me give you an example. Although the work experience does not include meeting the minimum education requirements, although the regulations don't, if a person says that they are a rocket scientist, for example, a position that is super highly specialized, requires substantial education to perform, and you only have a high school diploma, well, understand that that is going to trigger for an officer. I wonder if this person was actually qualified. But here's the kicker, okay? This is the important thing that you need to understand, is that for the purposes of express entry, the National Occupational Classification System only lists the requirements for what it takes in Canada to perform those duties. And the reason it's not mandatory that you have performed, the education, why the education is not mandatory for the purposes of getting your assessment for express entry, it's because work experience in another country may not require the same level of education as it does in Canada to perform that function. And if the government wanted to assess foreign education and make it a mandatory component of the work experience assessment process, then they would have built it into the Immigration and Refugee Protection regulations and the ministerial instructions for express entry. And they didn't. And so, if you have performed a substantial number of the main duties associated with that profile, and I will, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to jump in and I'm just going to pick one. I'm going to actually go to, let's open this up here, and then I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Okay, we're going to take this and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so people can see. Okay, we're going to take this National Occupational Classification here, and I'm just going to punch in a lawyer here. Okay, now I don't know what the requirements are in other countries, okay, to what it takes to become a lawyer. But 4112, I'll use that as the example here. If you go down to the employment requirements, which are right here, and I'll make these a little bit bigger for everyone so they can see, you can see that in Canada, you don't necessarily even need to have a bachelor's degree. And it's interesting here, 2 to 3 years of undergraduate studies is all that's required. I have a friend who actually was admitted to law school on just 3 years of undergrad studies. You can have that, or in Quebec, you need to have completed a college program and a bachelor's degree from a recognized law school, and successful completion of the bar exam are required, as well as provincial licensing are required. So in Canada, all those things are mandatory requirements. But maybe there's a country out there where lawyers learn based on, apprenticeship, where they work under another lawyer. In fact, many years ago, that's how it was, and that's how it was in many Commonwealth countries. And when I talk about many years ago, I'm talking about a long, long time ago. But other countries may have different requirements. And so the focus is always right on these duties right here. So has Mark, myself, performed a substantial number of these main duties and all of the activities in this lead statement? And if I have, then I can claim the work experience. All right. So I hope that answers the question. It was a good question. And so understand, officers will look at everything contextually to see if they believe you, right? And so if your education doesn't match, that is not a specific requirement, but it just has to make sense that the position you're working in your country, it may not require the specific same education that is required in Canada. And so, yeah, so I wouldn't stress over it. If an officer, like I said, sees a very, very skilled occupation or profession and no education to do it, then they're probably going to ask questions. All right. But ultimately, even then, those questions, as long as you can substantiate, or the officer, if they feel the need to call the employer and check in, ultimately they are going to be in a position where they're going to be in a position where I'm on a Skype right now. Yeah. Okay. So I've got a few things going on here in my office. Anyways, so basically I've been kind of rambling a little bit, but understand that there are circumstances that are different in different countries than they are in Canada, and we follow the law. So what an officer puts down in terms of their searching in a GCMS note is not the law, and hopefully you understand now why things were set up the way they were. Okay, so that's Ujwal. All right. Next question is from Mahesh. And Mahesh, he says, hope you're doing well. Thank you for devoting your time in helping and guiding us through various doubts and issues. Appreciate your honest feedback and suggestions. Okay, so Mahesh's question here is related to educational credential evaluations. And so we'll make a note here for the timestamp. And here's what he says. Okay, my question is about the WES educational credentials. My wife is a primary applicant whose graduation and master's degree has been validated and recognized by WES. And the points are calculated, and they'll do the profile shortly. However, my bachelor's degree has been recognized, but my master's has not been. So while submitting the application, do I need to submit a scorecard and certificate for my master's as well, even though it was not recognized by WES? My WES evaluation has 2 pages, one for bachelor's recognized and one for master's unrecognized. Do I need to remove the second page, which is not recognized, or shall I submit all? And so the WES, both the pages and master's scorecard and certificate. Okay, so any education that you wish to claim points for, you put within the study history section. However, if WES is not equating it to a Canadian educational credential, then you do not list it. When it comes to uploading your ECA, go ahead, upload it. It doesn't matter. So you can upload both pages as a complete document, just so that it's complete. And then once you've done that, you don't list anything with respect to your study history. So let me take a step back. In your study history, you're going to list only your bachelor's degree, because that's the only one you're going to get points for. And then when you get your ITA and you're filing your EAPR, your personalized document checklist will only create a spot for you to upload the education with respect to the bachelor's degree and not the master's. And when you upload your ECA, just upload it. Upload it with your degree. It doesn't matter. Okay, it's not going to harm anything at all. Great question, Mahesh. Okay, next question is, this one is from Sanyam. And Sanyam says, and I'm just going to jump back here to our lovely group here. So Sanyam says, I hope you are well, and thank you for your help on the Express Entry Live Q&A. I've received my ITA on September the 5th. Awesome, Sanyam. And applied for a police clearance with the Indian consulate on September the 17th. Okay, the dreaded Indian consulate PCC. Okay, let's see what he has to say here. I've not received my documents yet. No surprise here. The police verification for my passport that was issued in New Delhi was missing. And no response from the passport office in New York City or India regards to my police clearance documents. If I do not get this PCC, my 2 simple questions are, so here are the questions. Let's make a note here. Okay, so the first question is, should I still submit a letter of explanation and submit the remaining documents? Or should I withdraw my profile and wait for the next ITA? Will it affect my application the second time, and will I lose all the data I filled in this current application? Okay, great question, Sanyam. So one thing I don't know is your CRS total. We know that 440 is what's been the minimum amount all year here for 2018. But we don't know what the future is going to hold. So if your CRS total is high, in other words, we're talking 450 or higher, then there's a very good chance that you're going to get another ITA. So if you're waiting on a police clearance that hasn't arrived, you can choose at that stage to decline your invitation. And when you do that, it will just fall back into your profile and you won't have to re-input all of it again. When you decline an invitation, your profile is not invalidated. So you can continue working from it. It goes back into the pool and then you're ready for the next ITA round of invitations. But if you are, say, at 440 and you just received it, now I know September the 5th, I think was 440. I can't remember what the CRS total was on that day, what the pass mark was. But if you don't have a lot of room, in other words, you're right on 440 and you don't know if it's going to come again, then you have to make some decisions. You have to make some choices. And it is possible to indicate what has happened, that you've applied in a timely fashion, and that you are awaiting a response. And so I'm going to share my screen with you guys again. I'm going to open up a new window and I'm going to go to the EE completeness check. And this is basically the source that I use as frequently as I can for information on what the documents need to look like. And you can see this was last updated June 26th, 2018. So it's relatively recent. So if I go here to police clearances, I want to show you something here. Translations, police certificates right here. Okay. You will see here, it gives all the instructions. And then you can see here that applications that do not include a required police certificate and do not provide supporting documentation where required will be rejected as incomplete. You can see here the officer can exercise discretion when assessing whether police certificates that do not fall within the standard IRCC parameters may still be required to process the application. So when necessary, an officer can use discretion in their determination of whether or not a client is admissible to Canada by using other documents or mechanisms that are available to them. But understand that when there is exceptional circumstances that come into play, potentially such as yours, Sanyam, you would need to factor in these instructions right here. You need to provide proof that you've requested it and an explanation as to your best efforts to get it. So in this explanation, you should explain the delay and basically upload any of the documents that you have. And the document must show that you, as the applicant, have requested a police certificate as soon as possible after receiving your invitation to apply, and the delays are outside of your control. If you're not able to do this, then really put in a very good explanation as to why it's not working. Then you may wish to consider declining that invitation to apply. But I can't give you or tell you what to do in these circumstances because it depends entirely on your circumstances. But generally, that's the process I go through when I'm trying to determine what I'm going to do. Okay, let's see. Next question. This one's from Harpreet. And he says, "Dear sir, first of all, thank you for reading my email." You're welcome, Harpreet. My question is that I have experience as a supervisor in, let's see. Okay, so Harpreet's I'll try to decipher this here. So he has experience as a supervisor in tractor hydraulic components manufacturing and assembly. In the NOC list, there are several codes related to supervisor job titles, but no one matches my supervision experience in hydraulic assembly. So what should I do? How can I apply? Please help me. I'm in a dilemma. So Harpreet, this one is one of those situations where people book consultations directly with me so that we can go through everything in detail. But for those of you who are wondering, what's the best way for me to figure out exactly, I'm just making a note here. What's the best way for me to figure out exactly what my proper NOC is? I actually have some resources that are available. So the first one that I use is a blog post that I wrote called let's see if we can find it here, The Secret to Finding, right here. The Secret to Finding Your Correct NOC. And I'm going to copy this. And for those of you who are actually watching live, I'm just going to paste it right into there we go. I'm going to paste it right into the comment section. But for the rest of you folks, this right here goes through in detail how I go about determining whether or not my position actually fits. And so ultimately you have to do the best that you can. Oh, I see right here why people can't see me. Ultimately you have to do the best that you can, but this will be a good guide to help you make that determination. And within here, I actually have lots of good links back to the National Occupational Classification System and through a number of different resources that are available to help you determine what your actual position is and which NOC best fits your circumstances. All right. Okay. So let's continue on here. And so Harpreet, if you did want to book a paid consult, I can help you to figure out which one it is. There's always one. There's always one that's the best. And all you can do is just the best that you can and make the best pitch that you can. But the key, remember, is substantially, that you performed a substantial number of the main duties. Okay, there's Harpreet. And the last one here, that I am going to do today. Actually, I got two more. This one's from Ali. And Ali says, I want to humbly request an urgent help from you regarding my PCC. Okay, let's see if we can help them. I already submitted my EAPR 2 months ago. Okay, so this is October, so that takes him back to August. Okay, so roughly August. All right, and okay, I already submitted my EAPR 2 months ago. When I found from forums, okay, so I guess he was searching the internet, that a PCC should be dated after you visited your home country. That's correct if it's been more than 6 months. My PCC was dated April 2018, so we can do the math. April, May, June, July, August, September, October is 6 months. All right. So he submitted his EAPR 2 months ago. That's the important point here. Okay, so it was dated April 3rd, 2018, and I departed from my country April 10th, 2018. I stayed more than 6 months in my country in 2015. Please advise if I need a new PCC. Thank you very much. Okay, Ali, one thing I can tell you is that once you've locked in your EAPR, you're pretty much to the subject of that officer's mercy. And so with your police clearance, the rule is that if it's been more than 6 months since you've lived there, then the police clearance has to be issued at least if it's been more than 6 months since your police clearance was issued and you haven't returned back to that country, then you're okay. That police clearance will continue to be valid. However, if you, if you have spent time there and you're currently there, then the police clearance is only valid for 6 months. So if we look at your situation here, when you submitted your application, you filed your EAPR, you said you did it 2 months ago, which was in August. And then you filed your PCC was dated April 3rd, and you departed April 10th. So April 3rd to when it was dated until August is technically within that 6 month period. So when I look at this, Ali, obviously an officer can do whatever they want to do. You know, they could ask for you to provide an updated police clearance. They could do anything they want. But as it stands right now, and when I look at this, the current country that you've been living in plays a role as well. So if you were actually still in the home country, then that 6 month rule would apply. And if it's been longer than 6 months, which as of today is longer than 6 months, then you would be, but you'd filed, boy, you can see what it's like, right, guys? It's really hard to work through all the permutations when you are live right on the spot. But in this case, Ali, I think you're okay. So when I look at this and I look at the time that was in existence and the fact that it was only a couple days after, you're probably going to be okay. Now, with that being said, I want to also say that an officer could always come back and ask for an updated one. But when it comes to express entry, it's not designed for you to update anything after you've actually filed your EAPR. It's locked in. And so there is no place to upload any more documents. The only way you can is through a case-specific inquiry. But even then, there's no guarantee that it will be matched up with your application. So that's the dilemma with express entry. But based on what you've told me here, it looks to me like you're probably going to be okay. But understand that an officer has the discretion to do whatever they want to in these circumstances. All right? Okay, good question. That was actually a really good one, a really tough one. Okay, last email question comes from Vic. Okay, I'm one of your subscribers. Great, Vic, thanks. I'm from India. I have 3 years of work experience as an electrical site engineer in a very small company. My question is, they will give me salary directly in my hand. Okay, so we're dealing with cash. They will not transfer to any of my bank accounts. So what are the proofs that I need to show for this? So it's cash payments. I can't show the bank statement because I'll get my salary directly in my hand. So what do I need for proof? Please help me. I'm confused. Okay, so Vic, the first thing you need to understand is that when you have when you have reached the stage where you have to prove your work experience, yes, you have to prove that you were paid. And when you receive cash, there isn't a lot of records. So then my question is, did you file taxes? Do you have other evidence that can substantiate the fact that you were paid? but understand the very, very first thing that I'm going to be looking for is your reference letter. So when you look at your own personalized document checklist, that reference letter actually indicates that you need to provide, the document checklist indicates that you need to provide a reference letter plus pay stubs if they're available. So in these circumstances, it doesn't say that you have to provide proof that you've received money in your bank account. But the first question I have is, do you have pay stubs? And if you don't have pay stubs, did you file taxes? And if you didn't file taxes, then, ultimately, then you have to just use whatever you can. If you have any other confirmation or any other evidence that can support the money that you received and that you were paid, then you have to be prepared to provide that if you have it. If not, then understand you are in a situation where you're just going to have to rely on your reference letter and await to see if an officer has any questions. And the smaller the company, the more questions that they will have. Ultimately, when I say they have questions, doesn't mean that they're going to be getting on a phone and calling, but it will cause an officer to want to look a little bit closer. All right. Good question, Vic. And good question, all of you guys today. All right. As you can see, folks, those who are tuning in live, we're at about the 37-minute mark here. And Mark is not on his game today. I've had so many distractions. I was late for a consult this morning, actually a meeting that I had with a client outside the office, which then resulted in me being late for one of my Skype consults. Unfortunately, my Skype consult was very, very supportive. Then I had a telephone call with an employer over an employee they want to bring into Canada in a very difficult situation. And then I had to jump on and prepare for this podcast, this EE Live Q&A today. And this morning I got up at 7 a.m. and released my latest podcast, which is focused on business immigration. So my apologies today, guys. This is one where I am not on my game at all. I am quite flustered, and I've got 100 other things that are building up in my inbox today. So my sincerest apologies. Those of you who are watching this wondering, who is this guy? What is he doing? Yes, Mark is struggling today. Okay, with that being said, all of you wonderful people who have tuned in or are watching live, now it's your time to be rewarded. So starting now, those who have a question, you can ask it, and then I will burn through these questions with the live guests that we have today, and then I will turn off this fine little camera, shut down this episode, get it uploaded to the YouTube channel, and then get back to my day job, which is totally overpowering me right now. Okay, take a breather, Mark. You can do this. Okay. Let's start with Rajdeep here. So Rajdeep says, if I applied under NOC B and get a job offer in C, will that help me in getting extension for work permit? Rajdeep, this is a form for express entry. So this is a question entirely outside of express entry. So I can't answer that one, my friend. Let's see here. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay. Oh my goodness. I'm just seeing this now. Chris, why did I not see this? Okay, as you can see there, my dear client posted in the comments, Chris, hey Mark, got my ITA, getting ready for EAPR. Oh my goodness, my friend, that is so fantastic. Of course, that is awesome. Chris is one of my clients that is celebrating massively now because he got his ITA. And Chris, you know how difficult your situation was. Okay, as soon as I'm off here, I will connect with you, and we will pull you in, and I will make you another one of my super priorities, getting your EAPR filed. Okay, great. Thanks for jumping on, Chris. Fantastic. Okay, let's go back here above Chris. That just totally threw me off there. Okay, so Rajdeep, I don't really know what you're asking. If I've applied under NOC B and get a job offer under C, C won't help you for express entry. But will that help me in getting extension for work permit? I don't quite understand what you're asking there, my friend. Okay, Pulkit says, just a small query, being self-employed. Ooh, that's a doozy. For more than 8 years, is it a good idea to file income tax returns for the same in work history? If yes, Is it acceptable to file the acknowledgement receipts, the front page, which shows my net income, or should I also file the computation page and balance sheet? No, I wouldn't. Pulkit, the main summary page is fine. Ultimately, you're going to have a lot of documents substantiating your self-employed work experience. And so as long as the summary page gives a good snapshot, you don't need to provide all the other pages that support it. I think that would be overkill. And I think for any officers that were watching this would probably agree with me. Okay. Andy says, Dear Mark, what should I write in the LOE if I'm submitting an updated proof of funds after EAPR submission and it's been 3 months? Because my bank previously didn't provide me all details as per IRCC, and now they did. So I'm confused. Thanks a million. Once again, Andy, whenever you have submitted your EAPR, there's no real meaningful way of updating that. It's not designed to be updated. So whatever you submitted, you have to be prepared that an officer is going to assess your file based on that. If they come back and ask questions, they can. But if I'm replying here, I'll just put here case-specific inquiry is what you use on the IRCC website. And if I was to go here, let's just share my screen. And I'll pull this up here, and all you have to do is just type in case-specific inquiry. That'll take you to here, the IRCC web form. And if you're in Canada, which I suspect, well, I'm not sure if you are or not, use this form. If you're in Canada, you have the ability to update it. But also, if you have the actual information from your file, you've got your file number, all those other pieces of information that you need, you can put it in here. And then once you finish these questions and you complete this, you want to explain in detail here exactly what you want the officer to do. And then once you indicate next here, it will then ask you to upload your document. So you can see here, after you click next, you'll have the opportunity to upload your documents. So that's the only place that really you can do it. And the reality is, even when you do this, there's no guarantee that they're going to accept that. But you can upload it if you want. That is, you're free to do that, but there's no guarantee after you complete your EAPR and submit it that they will accept new documents. And that's just a reality. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go in here just for the purposes of Andy. And I'm just going to copy this and go back here and paste it into the comment section. All right. Wow. This is rough and tumble today, guys. This is super rough and tumble. Okay. Next question. I'm going to go back here. Okay. Let's see where we're at. Oh, Rajdeep. No, don't apologize, Rajdeep. It's fine. Don't worry about that. He said apologies about that. Okay. Okay. So, okay. Envis says, hi, Mark. Is it recommended to upload IELTS certificate in your EAPR application, even though it is not asked by IRCC? I do. I just upload it. When I have it, I just upload it. I find a spot to include it either in the general LOE place, where it says client information or letter of explanation. That's where I upload it, or I'll bund it together even with my, well, really that's usually where I put it, is in that generic spot. Good question. Okay. Manish says, I just want to know that what is the next expected date of open Nova Scotia PNP? Don't have a clue, Manish. If someone knew and had that answer, I think they would be rich. Okay. All right. And Sanyam. Hey, there's Sanyam. Okay. Hey, Mark, not sure if you got my email or message. Yeah, got it. And answered it, my friend. Okay. Gurwinder. Hi, Mark. Thanks for your time. To claim points for sibling, will his confirmation COPR document work, or should I wait until he gets his PR card? PR card is taking almost 2 months and I don't want to wait so long. Obviously, a PR card is one piece of evidence that is good, but understand proof of permanent residence, the confirmation of permanent residence document is the official document establishing permanent resident status. Ultimately, when it comes to claiming for a sibling in Canada, that sibling also needs to provide proof that they reside there in the form of a utility bill, and then obviously the proof of your relationship with them. And if you're concerned that they've just landed and haven't yet got their PR card because it's taking 2 months, my greater concern is that they don't have other evidence like the utility bill or other evidence that they actually reside in Canada. So you have to be really, really careful with that. In fact, in many cases, I would almost wait. Unless there's some reason why you absolutely can't, I would almost wait in the circumstances, even though it's not specifically required. Remember, I don't work on I don't work on probabilities as a lawyer. I work on possibilities. And if there's a possibility that they could say, oh, the COPR is not good enough, I want to see the PR card to confirm that they're actually, settled in Canada or whatever an officer's thinking, I don't take chances. All right. Okay, let's see here. Andy says, "Pro, you're the best. If I get PR, I'll come to you and dinner plus beers on me." Andy, you're very welcome, my friend. I will totally take you up on the dinner, but I'll pass on the beer. I'm not a big beer drinker, but I sure love my ginger ale. Canada Dry is my favorite. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay, Sanyam says, "Thanks for answering. I'll go back and watch the video once it's over." Thank you. You bet, Sanyam. No problem at all, my friend. Okay, and then Manish says, "Thanks, Mark, for your prompt response." You are very welcome. All right, well, we've had a lot of good questions today, and this episode, as you can see, guys, I've been not entirely on my game, but you can see I am a human being, and it's been really hard to focus in, and so I want to apologize to everybody about the subpar performance today. I think generally I've had a pretty good run when it comes to this EE Live Q&A, and so there's going to be days where you're on your game and there's days when you're not. So regardless, I want to express appreciation to everyone who has asked their questions, especially those who have patiently waited to get their questions answered in the live comment section. And okay, Cresta's popped in here with one question, so I'll finish off with Cresta. She says, "Can we still renew our passport after PPR before landing in Canada?" Yes, you can, Cresta, absolutely. And if your PR application is taking a long time, then yeah, that happens. You have to renew it, and there's no problem. When you get your request for your passport, you can update it at that stage and provide your updated passport. People that are in Canada, an updated copy of your new passport. But yes, you can. So there's no restrictions with that. And obviously you need to make sure that it's valid for at least 6 months and that you have at least a couple pages in there for the visa to be imprinted if you need a visa. Those who won't, it's not as big of an issue because they just provide a copy of the data page. All right, so that's it. Well, now I guess those of you who are still interested in what's going on in Mark's life and want to sit around and watch me jabber on a little bit about some things that are happening with me, now's where I'll tell you a little bit about a day in the life of a lawyer, and so in particular this lawyer. So I think many of you know my son is getting ready to go back, and so we've got the stress and everything associated with getting him ready. And we think we've got our fingers crossed that he is going to be going back to Suriname, which I'm really, or I should say, even getting there because he wasn't able to go there initially. He'll be going to Curacao first, we understand, and then flying to Suriname. So we're super excited for him. My daughter is in Indiana. She's also serving a mission for our church there, having an absolutely wonderful time on Indiana University campus. And she's, these are life-changing experiences. And for me, I had an opportunity when I was a young buck, 19 years old, to go and live in Portugal for 2 years and serve my mission there, serving the people of Portugal, helping them in whatever way, and just basically forgetting about myself and thinking about others. And that really set the stage for my entire life. It helped me to realize what was really important in life. It helped me to realize that I wanted to be the best that I could. I wanted to be someone who made a difference in the world. And I guess to a large extent, that's what's taken me here. And many of the colleagues that I have across the country wonder, why in the world is Mark doing this? You are giving away everything that we sell. You're giving away tips, strategies, all these kinds of things, helping people, answering their questions when normally lawyers pay for these things. Why are you doing that? And I'll be honest, the reason that I'm doing it is because I truly, truly want to help people. And going through all of this, creation of this group, the Express Entry Do-It-Yourself Guide was not designed to make me rich in any way. And it's not, trust me. I'm actually losing way more money doing this in the guide. But the reasons for this are not financially motivated. And my staff talk to me all the time. Each week we have our regular meetings, and they're like, Mark, if you spent this much time focusing on business immigration, reaching out to companies, large multinationals, corresponding with HR managers and global mobility specialists, our firm would be doing a whole lot better than it is, because we would have way more business immigration work. And it's true. I can't deny that. But there's something causing me to do this. And some days I don't know why. Just when I think it's not worth it, I should just stop. I should shut her down and just focus back on my practice. There's something that keeps pulling me and causing me to keep doing these. Like today was a nightmare, guys. The fact that I even got on here doing this is an absolute miracle. There's just so much going on that I've got to turn my attention to, but I can't. There's something inside of me that's causing me to continue to do this. And I know there's lots of people out there. And I think I'll be honest, one of the main drivers for me as a Canadian immigration lawyer, I practice in an industry where there are consultants. And consultants, what it takes to become a consultant does not equate in any way with what it takes to become a lawyer. In fact, practicing as an immigration lawyer, it would have been far easier for me to just take the 6-month evening course once a week and become a consultant and do what I'm doing, then go through the whole process of becoming a lawyer. And in fact, as a lawyer, I would be far better staying in the national firm I started with and working on the securities floors, the security floor of the firm, the national firm I was with, doing large-scale global mergers and acquisitions. I can guarantee that my family would have a whole lot more money than they do now. But that's not why I got into this. I got into this to help people, to genuinely be of assistance to people. So I need you guys to forgive me on the days when I'm just struggling, and be patient with me. And ultimately I do this because of all of the people out there that have massive problems dealing with consultants. And I know that there are some good consultants out there. There are. Billy Young in my office is exceptional. Now, her exceptional nature didn't come from her taking the consultant course. It came because she was an immigration officer for many years before she joined me. But there are some good consultants out there, but they are few and far between. And the reality is many, many consultants are only motivated about lining their pockets with money, despite them painting us lawyers as being the ones that line our pockets with money. The reality is I deal almost every day with people who are being taken advantage of by just crooked consultants who are not regulated at all, and also people who have had mistakes with regular consultants who are supposed to be regulated and supposed to have a knowledge of express entry, but don't. They know just barely more than any of you who actually go through and do your express entry process yourself. And then what happens is people come to me and there's nothing that I can do. And that's what really drove me to the part of creating this whole group. It started my Canadian Immigration podcast, which I was super excited this morning. I released a new episode. So you have to go check that out, the Canadian Immigration podcast. It's on iTunes. And so that's what caused me to start doing all of this. And so then I realized that, you know what, my family is really going to go under unless I do something to try to monetize what I'm offering here in some form or fashion. And so I thought, well, if I can just break even or just offset, what I could do maybe is create a do-it-yourself guide. And that do-it-yourself guide, I can give people a walkthrough of how to file their own application. Well, when I got started it, I realized, you know what, I could just throw something together and just put some, this guide together that just has fluff in it. The stuff that you would basically get if you were searching, one of the immigration forums or Facebook groups like this. And I thought about that for about 2 seconds. But then once I realized, you know what do you want to represent? Do you want to be a lightweight who's just putting out fluff and not helping people? Or do you actually want to create something that's of value and of worth, something that is going to bless the lives of people and make it possible for people who can't otherwise afford your $5,000 legal fees? And that's what I charge now. I had a small period of time where I offered full representation for $2,500, but that's over now. So when I offered, so Many of you I know can't necessarily afford my legal fees, and that's fine. But the reality is I still knew that I needed to create something that would be of unbelievable value. So I put hundreds of hours into creating the initial version of Express Entry, the complete step-by-step guide. Like, I'm serious, hundreds of hours I put into creating it. And I didn't outsource it to anyone. The production value, yes, admittedly, isn't spectacular, but the content is great. And then recently, with all the changes, it finally reached a stage where I knew I had to do a new version, but I just didn't have time. And so on this past Saturday, so today is Tuesday, I came into the office at 7. I had a meeting with a client to finalize their PR and submit it. We really wanted to give him a chance to get drawn, which he did on Monday, to get his profile submitted so that he was given an invitation to apply. And so I got up on Saturday, got up here 6 o'clock in the morning, went into the office and submitted his application. And then after that, I looked at the course and I thought, you know what? There's people that have lifetime access. There's people that are logging in and they're purchasing it right now. And I know that it can be better. And so I looked at what I'd done, and I spent from about 8 a.m. until 9:30 p.m. all day on Saturday revising all of the video segments. And so I went through and revised them and recreated them and just improved on them and took all of the information that I've learned in the last couple of years and used it to update and enhance. And so it's really 2.0. And one thing I'm going to let you guys who are actually sticking around and watching it, and there's only a few of you that are left. So maybe you guys that are tuning in through YouTube who are diehards will be watching this through to conclusion. But I'm going to open it up to the world now. And initially I had it only for our group. And I'm just going to jump back here and I want to show you guys what I have. I'm going to open it up to the world. And we have a couple things that are going on here. And one of them, I want to show you guys this. And you know what? This is just Mark talking. So anyone who doesn't want to watch anymore can just shut her down. But we're sitting at 119,848. And there's 2 more people that want to join here. So I guess we're 150 people away from 120,000. And so as a part of this relaunch, and I'm actually in the process of revising all of the EAPR videos as well, but I'm actually reaching out to a couple of my clients to see if any of them are willing to let me use their profile as the foundation for version 2.0. The first version of Express Entry's Do-It-Yourself Guide, I also had permission from clients to be able to use theirs to create it. And so I am now going to use the many people that I have right now. I'm going to ask and get permission from them to revise and use theirs as my foundation for revising the rest of the EAPR. But guys, when it is completed and when it's finalized, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Express Entry guide and I'm going to offer, which really is the monthly subscription. Right now it's $97 US. I'm going to offer it for 40% off in celebration of the 120,000 members. And the monthly subscription, like this course, guys, is worth every ounce of the full cost that I'm charging. You are not going to get this level of information or knowledge anywhere out there for the price that I'm offering it. And it's really the same amount that you would pay if you were to hire some consultant overseas. Well, probably you'd pay the consultant more. But what I'm going to do is for just the monthly subscriptions so that people can get in and they can stay in as long as they want. And then it's an automatic renewal, but they can then cancel their subscription. But for basically 40% off of $97, whatever that is, you guys can do the math. And I'm going to be launching that as soon as we hit 120,000 group members. And I'm going to open it up to the world. So no longer am I going to keep it confined just to our group and to a limited extent to the YouTube channel. I'm going to open it up to the world. And so you guys are the reason why it has become as good as it has, because of your questions, your very good questions, because of the way you've challenged me and forced me to learn Express Entry in a way that I never would have learned otherwise. You guys, I may not answer everyone's question and I may not be able to get into the group answering, but understand every day I'm scrolling through it. Every day I'm looking at the answers and I'm smiling at the people who are so educated, who have learned from the resources that are available, have learned from me, and are now able to help and assist other people. Now, with that being said, I know within our group, we have people who are taking advantage of me. There are consultants there who have created fake profiles solely for the purposes of mining and directing people back to them. And you know who you are, and more than likely they aren't watching this video. But you know what? I don't care. It doesn't make a difference to me. If people feel like they want to use the group, if I know about them, I will remove them from the group. But it just comes down to me telling people that I'm here to help them. And if they feel like it's in their best interest to use a consultant in their home country versus my guide, then that's totally fine. Or hiring me directly. But I'm here, and this is me. I'm not trying to hide who I am. I'm not trying to pretend that I'm something that I'm not. I'm just a farm boy who somehow managed to go to law school, who has a wife and 4 kids that I love dearly. And I'm doing this for them. And I'm trying to make a difference in the world on a massive scale. So there's Mark's therapy, I guess, talking to all of you guys. But I just want to let you know that this thing right here, I believe in that thing. And I know that it has the capacity to help every single person out there. But how do you convince people, that the $97 for a monthly subscription or the $497 for a lifetime access is worth it? Well, I guess testimonials, which I've got a ton that I'm going to be releasing. And so I just wanted to let everybody know about that. Thanks for those that have stuck around so long and are still logged in. Maybe you're not watching anymore, but there's a heart. Thanks. But yeah, this is Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher that actually cares about you guys. And so I hope that what I'm doing is of some worth. And in the end, I guess it will all just play out, and we'll see if I actually have the ability to reach the world. All right. Take care. Remember, if you want one of your questions answered in this EE Live Q&A, send an email to mholthe@stringham.ca, and I would be more than happy to do it. And watch our group carefully, guys, because when this number right here reaches 120,000, that is when I'm going to be launching version 2. Well, it's really updated automatically. So you can go in and you can see that those of you who already have subscriptions, I've already updated all the profile section with new videos and new content. And it's all going to be fantastic. So there you go, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Have an awesome day.